You're lying in bed. It's your usual time, maybe 10, maybe 10:30. The room is quiet. The lamp is on, and you're trying to read. Could be a novel, could be the news, could be a devotional you've read 100 times. But something keeps happening. You get to the bottom of the page and realize you haven't taken in a single word. So you go back up. You start again. And by the third time through the same paragraph, you put the book down. Not because you're sleepy, but because your eyes simply won't cooperate. They won't hold the line. And then there's the other moment. It's 3 a.m. Something stirs you awake. Could be nothing, could be the bathroom, could just be age doing what age does. You reach for the clock, you squint. You know your glasses are on the nightstand, but even with them on, the numbers are soft around the edges. You can't quite land on them. So you bring the clock closer, and you think, quietly, in the dark, is this just getting older? Is this just how it goes now? I want you to hear something clearly before we go any further. That's not your prescription failing you. That's your eye tissue sending you a signal. My name is Dr. Chima Okoye. I've spent over 15 years in internal medicine and cardiovascular health, and for the last several years, my focus has shifted almost entirely to one question. What can adults over 60 do, nutritionally, practically, right now, to protect the biological systems that don't get nearly enough attention until something goes wrong? Your eyes are near the top of that list, and tonight, I want to talk about something that I genuinely believe most people over 60 are getting completely wrong in the hour before they go to sleep. Before we go any further, I want to be clear. Everything I share here is educational and evidence-informed. It is not a substitute for your eye care professional. If you are experiencing vision changes, any changes, please see a licensed provider before adjusting your diet, your supplements, or your routine. I mean that sincerely. Your eyes are not something to experiment with carelessly. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening inside your eye at night. Most people have heard of intraocular pressure in the context of glaucoma, but here's what most people, including most patients, have never been told. The fluid inside your eye, called the aqueous humor, is not static. It's continuously produced, it circulates, and it drains. That cycle keeps internal pressure balanced and keeps your optic nerve nourished. When you're young and sleeping deeply, that cycle runs efficiently. But as we age, and particularly when sleep quality declines, that fluid thickens. It becomes sluggish. The drainage slows. And when drainage slows, pressure quietly builds behind the lens, compressing the optic nerve from behind in ways you cannot feel. Ways you won't detect until the damage is already measurable on a scan. The National Eye Institute has tracked a dramatic rise in optic-related vision loss in adults over 65, faster than almost any other age-related condition in recent records. And the mechanism driving a significant portion of that loss isn't dramatic. It's quiet. It's cumulative. It's happening in a room just like yours, in the dark, while you think your body is simply resting. Here's where it gets more specific. Your eye has a repair window, a narrow one. It opens roughly 60 to 90 minutes after you fall into deep sleep, your first NREM cycle. And during that window, a tissue called the trabecular meshwork, which is essentially the drainage gate of your eye, attempts to flush accumulated oxidative waste from the vitreous chamber. Think of it like your eye running a rinse cycle. If that cycle runs cleanly, you wake up with clearer vision, more comfortable eyes, less of that heavy-lidded fog that sometimes takes an hour to lift. If it's disrupted, and there are very specific, identifiable things that disrupt it, you wake up with eyes that feel like they never fully rested. Because structurally, they didn't. Most people don't know they're doing something in the hour before bed that chemically interferes with this process. Not because they're careless, because nobody told them. And I want to change that today. I had a patient, 67 years old, retired school teacher, sharp as anyone I've worked with. She came in not with dramatic vision loss, but with something subtler, worsening contrast sensitivity, specifically at dusk. She described it as colors going flat in the late evening, outlines losing their edge. Driving after 6 p.m. had become something she was quietly dreading. We went through her full history, and what I found was a straightforward pattern in her evening routine, something she ate regularly before bed that was directly blunting her eye's overnight drainage function. We made one change. One. 4 weeks later, she sat across from me and said, "I don't know how to explain it exactly, but my eyes feel like they wake up faster." That was her phrase. I've thought about it many times since. What I'm going to share with you today is not a supplement. It's not a pill you order online. It's a snack, something you can find in any grocery store for under $6 that contains 3 specific compounds. One relaxes the trabecular drainage tissue during the exact window your eye needs it most. A second one rebuilds the fatty membranes surrounding your photoreceptor cells during deep sleep, the same membrane that degrades silently with age. And a third blocks a protein clouding process that is happening right now inside the lens of most people watching this that nobody is addressing at the dinner table. Researchers have started calling this combination the most overlooked nighttime eye tool in nutrition science. I think that's fair. Before we get into it, I'd love to know 2 things about you. Drop them in the comments right now: your age and the one vision symptom that bothers you most at night. I'm not collecting data for an algorithm. I'm building a real record of what people over 60 are actually experiencing, because that shapes everything I bring to you. Let me show you the research, because honestly, even I was surprised by how specific it is. The snack is already in most people's homes, and for some of you, hearing this is going to feel almost too simple. I want to acknowledge that feeling, because I had it too, the first time I traced the research back to this specific combination. We're conditioned to believe that meaningful biological support requires complexity, expensive formulas, multi-step protocols, something that feels like it's doing a lot because it costs a lot. But the body doesn't need complexity at night. It needs precision. It needs exactly the right compounds delivered at the right time in a form it can actually absorb and use. That is what this snack does. Here it is, a small handful of raw pumpkin seeds, about 1 ounce, paired with 4 ounces of unsweetened tart cherry juice. That's it. Under $6 at most grocery stores, probably already in your pantry or your refrigerator right now. And together, these 2 foods target the 3 specific mechanisms we talked about: drainage pressure, photoreceptor membrane integrity, and the protein clouding process inside your lens. Let me walk you through each one. The first mechanism, your eye's drainage pressure. Pumpkin seeds are one of the most magnesium-dense whole foods available, and that matters specifically for your eyes in a way that almost no one in mainstream nutrition is talking about. A 2022 study published in the Journal of Glaucoma examined the relationship between dietary magnesium intake and intraocular pressure regulation during sleep. What the researchers found was significant. Adequate magnesium levels were associated with measurable relaxation of the ciliary muscle, the ring of tissue that surrounds and controls the trabecular meshwork, your eye's primary drainage gate. When that muscle relaxes, the meshwork opens more efficiently. Fluid drains. Pressure drops to its natural overnight low. And the optic nerve gets the breathing room it needs during the repair cycle. For adults over 60, this matters more than it did at 40. The ciliary muscle stiffens with age. Its resting tension increases. And that sustained tension, even mild, even silent, nudges intraocular pressure upward in ways that compound over years. Pumpkin seeds eaten in the evening give that muscle something to work with during the night. Here's the pro tip almost nobody tells you. Raw is not a preference, it's a requirement. Roasting pumpkin seeds at commercial temperatures breaks down the seed coat and degrades the mineral-binding compounds responsible for magnesium bioavailability. Research suggests roasted seeds deliver as little as 50 to 60% of the magnesium available in their raw counterpart. Raw, unsalted, room temperature, every time. The second mechanism, rebuilding the membrane your photoreceptors depend on. Here's something I want you to picture. Every photoreceptor cell in your retina, the cells that allow you to distinguish fine detail, adapt to dim light, and perceive color depth, has an outer segment, a membrane. And that membrane is made predominantly of a fatty acid called DHA. It's not a structure you're born with and keep forever. It degrades continuously. UV exposure accelerates it, Oxidative stress accelerates it, and age reduces your body's ability to replenish it efficiently. Pumpkin seeds contain alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, a plant-based omega-3 that your body converts into DHA through an enzymatic pathway. A 2021 study from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed adults over 60 and found that consistent habitual ALA intake was independently associated with significantly slower degradation of the photoreceptor outer segment layer, measured directly on OCT imaging. Slower breakdown of the membrane your vision depends on, from a seed you can hold in your palm. That conversion from ALA to DHA is most active during deep NREM sleep, the same repair window we discussed earlier. Which brings me to the pairing and why it matters. The tart cherry juice isn't an add-on, it's a timing mechanism. Tart cherries contain natural melatonin precursors and a specific class of anti-inflammatory anthocyanins that support the body's entry into deep NREM sleep faster and more completely. Eating both together, seeds and juice, same sitting, means the ALA from the seeds is circulating precisely as your body shifts into the sleep phase where it can do the most with it. Separate them and you lose that synchronization. The pairing is the point. Before I get to the third mechanism, and this one is the one that surprised me most when I first read the research, I need to pause for just a moment because something just clicked for me while explaining all of this, and I don't want to move past it without saying it directly. Everything I've just described, the drainage function, the overnight repair cycle, the eye's ability to do its deepest work during sleep, all of it is harder for your body to accomplish if your blood pressure is surging in the hours before you go to bed. And here's what most people don't know. Blood pressure doesn't just spike once a day. It spikes twice. Once in the morning, which is what your doctor typically sees, and again between 3 and 6 in the afternoon. That second spike is steeper in adults over 60. It's less predictable, and it directly elevates evening intraocular pressure, reduces ocular circulation during sleep, and compresses the very repair window we've been talking about. I spent years watching patients do everything right. Take their medication faithfully, eat carefully, manage their stress, and still feel off every single afternoon. Unsteady, uncertain, unable to explain why their numbers looked fine at the clinic, but something still felt wrong. I wished someone had handed them a simple, structured system built specifically for that window. Not more information scattered across the internet. A real daily plan for the most vulnerable time of day. That's exactly why I wrote the 4 p.m. Fix, a 21-day afternoon reset for adults 60 plus with stubborn blood pressure. I just wish I had written it sooner. For every patient who sat across from me feeling like they were failing a test nobody gave them the questions to. This is not about adding more to your plate. It's about finally having one clear, calm thing to do at 4 o'clock. The uncertainty goes quiet. You stop guessing. You start showing up to your doctor's appointments with real data, actual before and after readings, a 21-day tracker, and the exact words to use when you sit across from your physician. That feeling of walking in prepared instead of braced, that's what this is really about. It's called the 4 p.m. Fix. It's $14.99, and the link is in the description and pinned in the comments below. It's at an introductory price right now. I genuinely cannot promise that holds. If this video resonated with you, that book was written for you. Now, back to your lens, because the third mechanism is the one I think about most. The third mechanism, blocking the clouding process inside your lens. Most people first hear the word glycation in the context of diabetes. But glycation, the process by which blood glucose binds to proteins and progressively stiffens and degrades them, is happening in virtually every adult over 60, regardless of blood sugar status. And it's happening inside the crystalline lens of your eye right now, silently, in a way that is directly upstream of lens yellowing, loss of optical clarity, and the early stages of cataract formation. This is where the tart cherry juice earns its place in this combination. A 2023 study published in Oxidative Medicine and Cellular Longevity identified that specific anthocyanin subtypes and chlorogenic acid, both found in meaningful concentrations in unsweetened tart cherry juice, inhibit the enzymatic formation of advanced glycation end products, known as AGEs, in lens tissue. This is not a general antioxidant effect. Chlorogenic acid interrupts the specific enzymatic chain that manufactures AGEs at the molecular level. That distinction matters because most antioxidants mop up damage after it's done. This stops a portion of the damage from forming in the first place. The pro tip here carries real weight, so I want to say it plainly. Do not substitute sweetened cherry juice, cherry-flavored drinks, or cherry concentrate with added sugar. This is not a minor preference. Added sugars directly accelerate the glycation process that the chlorogenic acid is working to block. You would be funding both sides of a biological conflict simultaneously. 4 ounces, unsweetened, pure tart cherry juice. Read the label before you buy. The 75-minute window, why timing is everything now that you know what this snack does. Let me tell you when. And I want to be specific because the difference between 60 minutes and 90 minutes matters more than most nutrition advice will ever tell you. Eat your raw pumpkin seeds and drink your 4 ounces of unsweetened tart cherry juice together, 75 minutes before you intend to sleep. Not 30, not 2 hours, 75 minutes. Here's the biology. Your body begins releasing melatonin roughly 90 minutes before natural sleep onset. At the 75-minute mark, that process is beginning, but digestion of a small, fat-containing snack is not yet complete. You want the magnesium, ALA, anthocyanins, and chlorogenic acid to be actively absorbing and entering circulation precisely as melatonin onset shifts your body toward NERM entry. Eat too early and peak nutrient circulation clears before your eye's repair window opens. Eat too late and active digestion competes with the parasympathetic shift your body needs to drop into deep sleep efficiently, blunting the very cycle these compounds are meant to support. 75 minutes is the crossover point. It is not approximate. Build a habit around it. Now, before you go buy pumpkin seeds tonight, there are 4 things I need you to get right, because the snack alone is only part of the equation. How you eat it determines whether any of this actually reaches your eyes. These aren't general wellness tips. Each one is tied directly to the specific mechanisms we just covered. Get these wrong, and you can eat this snack every single night and leave most of the benefit sitting on the table. Rule 1. The 75-minute window is non-negotiable. And here's the deeper reason why. We established the timing earlier, but I want to add one layer that most people miss entirely. Your body operates on something called a circadian nutrient absorption rhythm. Certain enzymatic processes responsible for converting and transporting fat-soluble compounds, including the ALA to DHA conversion from the pumpkin seeds, are significantly more active in the 90-minute window surrounding natural melatonin onset than at any other point in a 24-hour cycle. Chronobiology researchers have been documenting this shift for over a decade. The gut is not a passive tube, it is a timing-sensitive system. Eating this snack at the 75-minute mark isn't just about digestion completing before sleep. It's about landing the nutrients inside a biological window when your body is already primed, hormonally and enzymatically, to send them exactly where your eyes need them. Miss the window by an hour in either direction, and you're eating the right things at the wrong time. Precision over habit. Rule 2, the vitamin E activation problem. This one genuinely surprises people, and it's one of the most important things I'll say today. The ALA in your pumpkin seeds, the fatty acid that your body converts into the DHA that rebuilds photoreceptor membranes overnight, does not convert efficiently on its own in adults over 60. The reason is specific. The enzyme responsible for initiating that conversion, delta-6 desaturase, declines in activity with age. And critically, it requires vitamin E as a cofactor to function at adequate capacity. Without sufficient vitamin E present during digestion, conversion rates in older adults can drop by 30 to 50%. The seeds are doing half the work they should be. The fix is straightforward. Add a small slice of avocado or 4 whole almonds alongside your snack. Both are rich in naturally occurring food-based vitamin E, specifically the alpha tocopherol form that activates this conversion pathway most efficiently. Here is the pro tip that matters. Do not substitute with a vitamin E supplement. Synthetic alpha-tocopherol in capsule form has actually been shown in clinical research to compete with the natural forms for receptor binding, effectively crowding out the compound you need rather than supplementing it. Whole food only. A few slices of avocado, 4 almonds. That small addition unlocks the full photoreceptor benefit of the seeds you're already eating. Rule 3. The light exposure error you're probably making right now. Most people eat their evening snack in front of the television or while scrolling a phone. And if that's your habit, I want to be direct with you. You are chemically undermining one of the primary mechanisms that makes this snack work. Here's what the research shows. A 2021 study published in Current Biology identified that exposure to short wavelength blue light, the kind emitted by screens, in the 45 minutes before sleep doesn't just delay melatonin release. It specifically suppresses melatonin receptor activity in retinal tissue itself. Melatonin is not only a sleep hormone. Inside the eye, it functions as a targeted antioxidant, one that acts directly on the photoreceptor layer and the retinal pigment epithelium during the overnight repair cycle. When screen exposure blunts that retinal melatonin activity, you lose a layer of antioxidant protection that no snack can fully replace. The tart cherry juice is supporting your melatonin onset. The screen is working against it in real time. Dim the room when you eat this snack. Put the phone face down. This is not optional comfort advice. It is a direct extension of the biology we've been discussing for the last several minutes. Rule 4. The medication depletion conversation you haven't had. This last rule is the one I feel most responsible sharing because it lives in a gap between what medications do and what they don't tell patients. Many adults over 60 are on long-term medications, diuretics, proton pump inhibitors, certain ACE inhibitors that have a documented and clinically significant side effect. They deplete systemic magnesium. Not dramatically, gradually, quietly, over months and years. And magnesium, as we established, is the precise mineral responsible for ciliary muscle relaxation and trabecular drainage during sleep. If your medication is pulling magnesium out faster than your diet replaces it, the pumpkin seeds help, but the deficit may be deeper than 1 ounce of seeds can fully address. I am not telling you to stop your medication. That is never the answer, and I would never suggest it. What I am telling you is to bring this specific question to your physician at your next appointment. Ask directly, does my current medication deplete magnesium, and should we check my levels? That is a reasonable, informed question. Your doctor will respect you for it, and the answer may genuinely change how you approach everything we've discussed today. I want to take a moment now and step away from the research entirely, because there's something I've been wanting to say since the beginning of this video, and the science is the backdrop, not the point. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and your eyes clear within seconds, not the usual slow crawl out of fog that takes 20 minutes of blinking before the room comes into focus. Just clear, immediate. You look at the clock across the room and you read it. You don't reach for your glasses first. You just read it. Imagine sitting across from your grandchild at the dinner table and catching every small expression on their face. The way one eyebrow lifts when they're about to say something funny, the gap-toothed smile they're going to lose in a year, the particular way their eyes go wide when they're excited. You see all of it, without squinting, without leaning in, without missing it. Imagine driving to your daughter's house as the sun goes down and staying relaxed, hands easy on the wheel. Headlights coming toward you don't scatter into halos that send your pulse up. You just drive, the way you used to. These are not fantasies. These are things your eyes are trying to do every single night. The biological architecture for overnight repair is still there. The drainage system, the photoreceptor membrane, the antioxidant cycles, they haven't stopped. They have just been running without the materials they need to finish the job. This snack is not a miracle, but it is a message sent deliberately, consistently to your own biology that you are paying attention, that you are giving your eyes what they've been asking for. And that message, repeated every night, builds something real over weeks and months that no single intervention can create on its own. That is what this is really about. Not a snack, your independence, your confidence, the ability to see the life you've built clearly, fully, on your own terms. I want to hear from you now. If your vision cleared up tomorrow morning, truly cleared, where's the first place you'd go? Or what's the first thing you'd want to see clearly again? A face? A view from a window? The page of a book you put down 6 months ago because it had become too hard? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one, and your answer may well shape the next video I make for this community. If this gave you something genuinely useful today, I'd ask you to do one thing. Share this with one person over 60 in your life who is quietly managing the same frustrations. Not for the views, but because this is the kind of information that most people find 10 years too late, and you have the ability to change that timeline for someone you care about. That matters more than any algorithm. This is Dr. Chima Okoye, and I want to leave you with this. Remember where we started? That person lying in bed, rereading the same paragraph for the third time because their eyes simply wouldn't hold steady. The clock at 3 a.m, soft and unreadable in the dark. That moment of quiet worry in the middle of the night that you've probably never said out loud to anyone. You came here looking for an answer to something that felt too small to talk about and too persistent to ignore. I hope what you found today is bigger than a snack recommendation. I hope it's the beginning of treating your vision with the same seriousness you give every other part of your health. Your eyes have been sending you a signal. Now you know how to answer it. Take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.